Just trying to figure out why it smells here for some reason. I'm getting a weird smell.
Smell toast?
Might be me. No, it like smells like funk all of a sudden. It smells like camping. It smells like a Jasper National Park outhouse in my house for some reason. I'm not sure if it's me. I'm not sure if it's one of my kids or if they're cooking something. I'm really not too sure, but I'm very smell sensitive. Anyway, welcome. Sorry it smells here. My name is Dean, and welcome to the crew. Maybe it's you. Maybe
something.
This isn't smell-o-vision, guys.
Yeah,
we're fine.
yep. I can't wait for it. Anyway,
Outside
the
is you
cruise.
don't have COVID.
Yeah, it's good. We can smell. And that voice that you hear, very pleasure to welcome a lawyer who's interested in human rights and is interested in personal freedom and the collective freedom of people. And I love the man. He's agreed to join us today out of Ottawa. Please welcome Mark Bourrie to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Mark, good to see you. James is here. Lachlan's here. And a man that Canada seems to be rallying around at the moment because he displayed a little courage the other day. You may have seen the video of a gentleman in Ottawa confront a couple of protesters and encourage them to, quote, fuck off. Please welcome Blue Jacket Man, Paul Atkinson, ladies and gentlemen. He's here. Paul Atkinson.
There you go.
Thanks.
Good for you, brother.
Oh, dude, you got to listen to this guy's voice, too. He's got, like, the jazz voice going. He's been a DJ for, like, years, and I was talking to him, like, you do any radio? And he's like, no, I just make guys wet. That's what I do. That's what I do. You got to hear this guy. How are you, Paul? You all right?
I'm not going to lie. I'm exhausted. I just had a meeting a few minutes ago. I'm working from home right now. I had a meeting a few minutes ago, and at one point I started to literally doze off in the middle of the meeting. I'm like, this is not good. And they're looking at me. They're going like, you should go lie down, dude. You need a rest. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I got a thing I got to do, and then I'll lie down later. I'll just pour myself a whiskey and relax.
Doesn't sound terrible. I'm going to play the video that brought you to everybody's attention.
Yeah,
it's got millions of views now. This video is absolutely incredible. And then we'll get some details of it. This is last night, if I'm not mistaken, or sorry, 2 nights ago. This is Tuesday. This is Paul Atkinson, who is known now as Blue Jacket Guy. Here's the video of the confrontation. Watch this. It's great.
What freedom have you lost? What freedom have you lost? Tell me a freedom you've lost. I lost my mind because I haven't slept in 5 fucking days.
I fucking hear it. And it's not even hard. I love you. The diesel engine runs
enough to drive a fucking person crazy.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
But I want it to stop. Hey, Chris. I want it to stop.
It has to fucking stop.
Then it stops when the government lifts the mandates.
You fucking idiot! The mandates are provincial, not federal! The mandates, if you're mad about wearing a mask or getting a fucking vaccine, go talk to Doug Ford!
Okay, well, you know what?
The fucking Prime Minister has nothing to do with this!
Actually, he does.
Do you know anything about civics?
Yes, I do, because didn't the federal government make vaccine mandates for all federal employees?
No,
and all federal...
It's a requirement for your fucking job!
Yeah, exactly. That's part of the mandates, man. Karen!
Well, that's a choice!
It's not a choice, you
they lost their job.
The honking will continue until freedom improves. Simple as that. Simple as that.
Fuck you.
Fuck me? Fuck you.
Fuck you.
Join us.
You don't think we have no right in the country.
I do want to listen. But I've lost my fucking patience.
World peace, guys. We can do it.
This is too much.
So that was a minute and 47. Paul Atkinson, who joins us. By the way, congratulations. That was fucking brilliant. Get goosebumps watching that. Courage isn't very common, Paul, and you got some. In fact, lots. In fact, a whole bunch the Ottawa Police Service doesn't seem to have, our governing factors don't seem to have, and other Canadians seem to have. So tell me a little bit about what happened. Like, how did that kind of start, and how did it end? Because we didn't see the other parts of that. We just saw you being fucking awesome.
Well, thank you for that to begin with. But it all started like literally the day I was sitting at home on the Twitter, and I saw this local fella walk down to the hill, held up a sign and walked around through the crowd, says, "We will not be held hostage in our own city." Mm-hmm. And a few other people just jumped in and said, "Let's go support him." I'm like, I'm in. Grabbed my coat, put on my balaclava, out the door. Walking up the street, and I bumped into the group that I'd been talking with and on Twitter. And I said, "Oh, I'm just going up to support." And they said, "Yeah, he's already left." I'm like, "Oh." And then one of my neighbors who lives in my apartment building, I had a chat with him, and we were trying to figure out, let's have a counter protest. He's like, "We're going to bring this person here. We'll have them stand in the street. They won't run over senior ladies, hopefully, who knows." And I said, "Yeah, that sounds like a great idea." Then we started to talk about when and what and how we can do it. And then the guy in the big rig laid on the horn for about 3 minutes. And I was sitting there waiting for it to stop and I looked at my neighbor and I just said, "No, that's it. I'm done. I got to take care of this." I went over and I pounded on the guy's door and started screaming at him. "Stop this. You're harming people. We can't take this anymore, and it's got to stop." And that's, and after that, I exploded. And look, I have to apologize for dropping so many F-bombs. I know my mom will not be proud of me. And Irish Catholic thing is what it is. You see. So I don't,
Bruce Boudreau.
Well, you want my mom can call your mom and tell her how to deal with a son that drops F-bombs if you want.
Well, there was probably some soap in my past, my childhood. But yeah, I just don't want to disappoint my parents, but it's just like, I honestly couldn't deal with it anymore.
You snapped.
I snapped. We all did. And somebody said, "Well, you showed so much restraint." And I said, "Well, trust me, there was, it was very difficult for me not to throw hands. I'll put it that way." And
you're a pacifist, Paul. Like you and I chatted today for a good hour. You're a pacifist. You're a peaceful individual. That is unlike you. But it is unlike normal people to show that kind of courage. So you step up and you start talking to these guys and you start expressing yourself. And I don't know if you were there. When I get angry, I black out. So I don't necessarily remember the stuff that I do or say. But do you remember the response from those guys? Because it's just indignance, right? Like they say they want to have a conversation, but they don't. Correct?
They don't want to listen. And the thing was that the guy in the rig, I think I scared the hell out of him, honestly, because I pounded on that door hard. And he just and he rolled his window down like that much. And I said, "You've got to stop." I said, "Roll your goddamn window down and stop this shit now. I can't deal with it anymore." So then I turned and I walked because a pickup truck had pulled up, and the guy was in the pickup truck who was actually, I don't know his name. I didn't get his name, but he was incredibly reasonable. He was calm, cool, and collected, and agreed with me that the noise has gone on for too long. Now he said, "I'm here to support these guys, but you're right. The noise is too much." I said, "The diesel fumes, the noise. People live here. This is a residential neighborhood. We can't deal with this anymore." And he said, "Yeah, you're right. But we're fighting for freedoms." I'm like, "What freedom?" And that's when I went on that tirade. I'm like, nobody has lost any freedom. Nobody. No. He says, "Well, we want to end the lockdowns." We've never had a lockdown. There have been restrictions across the country, yes, but they've been provincially implemented. So why are you yelling at Justin Trudeau? Because you should be speaking to Doug Ford or Jason Kenney or Scott Moe or any one of the other rabble-rouser conservative individuals who have done all of this. They're the ones who did the lockdown restrictions. Then he says, "Well, we can't have mandates. We want to end the vaccine mandates." I'm like, "What mandates?" He says, "Federal government needs them." I'm like, "Well, what does that have to do with you?"
Yeah.
And it's a job requirement. It's a job requirement. Every member of the Canadian military has been double vaccinated and tripled. They're even boosted. So, it's a job requirement. It's not rocket surgery, man.
And we're talking about 420,000 people. That's how many federal employees there are out of a country of 38 million.
And from what I know, we don't need to get into why I know, compliance has been very high.
Very high.
Yeah. It's an extremely small percentage of the workforce for the federal government pushed back.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but these I don't think are federal employees. Some of them might be. I mean, there's a cross section of people, generally speaking. And we'll get into the genesis of what we're finding out today about alt-right money coming from the states and all that other stuff. But like the emotional effect this has had on everybody, and you saw that with Paul Atkinson, Blue Jacket guy, who joins us today at Paulie's World on Twitter is where you can find him, and Mark Bourrie. Mark Bourrie is a lawyer. He is an ace when it comes to human rights, individual rights, and the freedoms that we all enjoy in this country. Mark, when you're in Ottawa too, right? Like we're and I just want to deal with this. This is the human experience that people are having. Like, you know, Paul is losing his mind. He's downtown. You're just out of the city, Mark, but you have kids downtown with small children. Your grandchildren are suffering through this.
Yeah, and the whole thing is like cuckoo bananas. You have people who 2 months ago were saying we've got to close the borders because Omicron. We've got to let these folks bring Omicron into the country. We've got to tighten up that border. And now the same people are saying we got to get rid of vaccine mandates for truckers to go across the border. So for some reason, truckers carry or contract COVID and carry it across the border. But I suspect your coloreds and your Asians and your South Africans, and I'm not talking about Charlize Theron South Africans, if you know, they bring COVID. So we're going to close the border to them, what we don't want. But yeah, Festus the trucker, who's doing like his midnight run to Texas for some tomatoes. Now he's fine. Yeah. He's fine. He doesn't need nothing. Like, don't keep your nose out of his business. The logical pretzels that we see being twisted here are phenomenal. Libertarians who think it's okay to crap on other people's property, though property rights are sacred, right? We have people who think that. Well, I think a lot of them are here because they really hope they could pull a January 6th and have their QAnon shaman moment comments. Like, I really do believe that was the plan, and
that's what I thought too.
And the wheels came off this thing like on day one, actually on Friday even, and a whole bunch of Tories that with the collective brains of a fucking gnat flew into the bug zapper on this thing, and it cost Aaron O'Toole's job, and it's going to cost police chief his job. The mayor is already not running again. He'd be out too. Like, this is going to be a terminal shit show experience for a whole bunch of people. If it doesn't end with people getting their heads smacked, it looks like it's sort of at this point. The last 100 holdouts or so finally moved off somehow.
What, today they're finally going to get moved out today? That you've heard, like the last 100 or 200. I heard it was.
Well, I don't know if it'll be today. I don't know if it'll be today. But there's so much pressure now. Okay, so we're looking at numbers. And just think of it like on the weekend there were 13,000 truckers and some slightly pissed off Ottawans, right? Then the whole thing begins to shift. So fewer truckers, where's my hand here? Fewer truckers, more pissed off Ottawans, to the point where the political pressure now is high on so many people that they literally cannot do something about this. Now there's been some ticketing and stuff, but I think it's going to be more than that. I don't understand things like why there are more trucks than truckers downtown now. If there's a bunch of abandoned trucks downtown, Ottawa's really good at towing cars. They towed mine a couple times for parking infractions. Once when they put up no Canada Day parking, and 10 minutes later towed my car to some place run by a bunch of goons out on the edge of town who I was not ready to tangle with at all. And I think the truckers are a lot more bark than they are bite. And if they ever come across I think a lot of people think Ottawa is this sort of effeminate place of public servants, and there's so shtick that the media, the CBC, especially the city that fun forgot, kind of crap. And and there is a certain element of that, but this is also an Ottawa Valley lumber town with serious badasses who actually run the towing business. So I think that these trucks are a rude surprise if they don't think we have towing infrastructure. But to stop being sort of catty about this whole thing, there's getting to be a lot less to lose by moving against these people than there is by not moving against them. But the people of Ottawa and people in Toronto are really fed up. If you read alldeadanimals.com, you think these guys are winning. They drink their own bathwater, they sniff each other's farts, and they believe that they're about to, that they're about to have their like 1922 Mussolini moment, but they're not. And they're going to go home with like $2,000, $3,000 tickets if they're not careful.
Mark, I have a question, Mark.
Yeah. What's that, Paul? What were you going to say?
Oh, it wasn't me. No, it wasn't me.
Sorry, Jamesy. Were you saying something?
Lachlan was. Go ahead, Lachlan.
Sorry,
Mark. Do you think there was a strategy or just a lack of understanding of what this thing was? Like, why? What's the reasoning behind the lack of action from the city police? And is there an exploit? Has anybody locally said, well, we were doing this because of this to avoid this? Was there any of that, Mark?
I'm an old fart, overweight lawyer living in a shack on the edge of town, and I could see what was coming. So anybody who wasn't able to follow along and who's getting paid to follow along ought to be finding another line of work right now. This was as clear as the nose on your face. They even put out a manifesto saying they were going to overthrow the government, that they were going to get the Queen and the Governor General, the Senate, and Bobo the Clown or something. We're going to work together with them to overthrow the government and send Mr. Trudeau packing. Like this crazy bullshit from this Bruce R. Crayon law, which is brilliant because it's the freedom of the land horse shit, right?
Yeah.
And we knew the trucks were coming. I knew there weren't as many as people said there were because my sister's up in the Lakehead and she watched the whole show as they came through. But we knew there'd be some trucks. This is not Ottawa's first rodeo with trucks. This is another thing that just gets lost. We had these other bozos with trucks, 3 years ago, guys?
Yeah, I think it was 2017 or 2018. I don't recall.
Like that. What was it called?
The Yellow Vest.
Yeah, they were the Yellow Vesters, and they were on about pipelines and some stuff. It's all a bunch of gobbledygook and the usual same bunch of assholes.
Oh, and Scheer came out to greet them too, and then spoke.
Oh yeah, came out to greet this bunch. Now Scheer, this is a man. I worked on the Hill for 25 years. So you go by these paintings of the speakers of the House of Commons with the big black, the tabs like stupid lawyers wear and everything, and oh gosh, look on their face. And I don't know how they're going to have a picture of that fucking idiot up with those people, some of whom became governors general and stuff. And then this clown, this literal clown is out there. Is there a cause that anyone could think of that's a bad cause that Andrew Scheer has not adopted other than cocaine for children?
Yeah.
I adopted that.
Yeah, well, me too. And they sleep like a charm. It's just great. And some of their drawings are awesome. Yeah. But yeah,
don't you think that there's a lot to be said for, like, this feels like the COVID of protests. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was a fluid situation that we kind of knew almost nothing about. Some people tried to adjust to it. When you talk about the people that were there, like that Crayon Law manifesto thing that you just mentioned, I'm willing to bet that 85% of the people that were there didn't even have any idea that it existed. And I'm not even defending them for that. I'm saying that, like, it's a disjointed kind of hey, come on, do you hate Trudeau? Yeah, come on board. And what I wanted to say to Paul is that I think you may have dodged a bullet in a way, because you were saying that you wanted to set up a counter protest, and then you sort of abruptly decided fuck it and just took the moment by the balls and went and did your thing. Brother, I think that was the best choice, because as much as I totally hear what you're saying, and I think that they have overstayed their welcome and they're disturbing you and they're making it difficult for people like you to live, a large organized counter protest, I don't know, man. I think that you'd be walking into a hornet's nest, and I think that it would turn bloody. And I think you made the right call.
Well, and you know what? As you say that, there's 3 protests planned for Saturday here in Ottawa. One at the police station and 2 other ones that want to start. One wants to start at 2 and one wants to start at noon at City Hall and march to the Parliament Hill. They're like, bring earplugs, bring ear defenders, do not bring children, bring food and water. I'm like, I'm beginning to wonder if that is a good idea. They want to do this on Saturday. Well, they're bringing more trucks in. So, you know what? I don't care if you got to call in the army or just get every tow truck operator in the region, get them in here, get these people out of here. They have occupied the downtown core of a G7 national capital. Like, how is this a real thing? And if you had told me this in 5 years ago, if you had said to me in 2022, the city of Ottawa will be occupied by a bunch of neck-bearded mouth breathers, I would say, what? You've got to be kidding. No, that would never. And it's happening right in front of our eyes. And
another thing keep in mind is that, and I don't know why some people don't seem to get this, is that we in Ottawa have had to endure all of the COVID restrictions that everybody else has. Plus, hundreds of thousands of people in the city, including myself, are working from home. So working from home, we're not seeing our kids, not seeing our grandkids, can't go out to restaurants because our hospitals are full. We're afraid, my wife had surgery, hip surgery, delayed, had to do it all in one day. And at 10 o'clock at night, we're driving around because you can't stay overnight in the hospital looking to buy heavy narcotics. Now, I've done that many times, but I mean, this is from a drugstore, right? Mm-hmm. We put up with all the same stuff as these truckers have. And then they're going to come and dump their crap on us
literally crap
on students, on single moms, on working people who are working in service jobs. The people who live in downtown Ottawa are not rich. There are some well-off people, but it's a very mixed bag of people from people who are very poor. And don't forget, these are the truckers are actually robbing the fucking homeless.
Yes.
How low can these guys go? So you got people from the homeless to some professional people. There are some really rich people in Ottawa. I'll tell you, there's no trucks in their neighborhood. And if the truckers knew where to go, if they wanted to get into a real set of fisticuffs, go to Rockcliffe. You want to have a go with the cops? You try going where the really rich, the tech lords are, the handful of billionaires in this town. Mm-hmm. They're not hearing any beep beep.
No, absolutely not.
On that.
No, you're absolutely
and another
right.
place they're not going. Pierre Poilievre's riding out in suburban Ottawa. Mm-hmm. They're not hearing the beep beep either. It's a very small group of people who actually have because of the fact that they live in high density neighborhoods, small backyards, no real parks to speak of and stuff. They have carried a lot of the burden of this, a lot more than people who stay in a suburban neighborhood with big yards and friends to go and see and stuff like that. And now these truckers are blasting their horns for 5 days because they have this bullshit Western attitude that Ottawa is this elite, effeminate city where they can come and just push people around. And the message so far has been, yes, you can.
Yes.
They've
let it happen.
They've let it happen. And what is the lesson for the next bunch of bozos? Mm-hmm. Well, we don't know.
What's
no problem?
Do not negotiate with terrorists, right?
Well, no problem. Come on in. I mean, that's why this has perpetuated itself. We've had 2 years of these dry runs, right? Like, we've allowed these people to take over major cities across this country, and we've done nothing. Like, Karima, who's one of my great friends, and I work with her. I've watched. I think, Mark, you and her were supposed to go grab a coffee or something. You're supposed to meet.
Can't get to her.
Yeah, exactly. You can't get down to meet her. I mean, it's fucking bananas because she's downtown covering this stuff. But Kareem has been covering this for 2 years, and to your points, we've seen this for 2 years, and nobody's done anything for 2 years. And there's the juice, right? There's the juice for this group. It's like, hey, listen, Canada's not doing jack shit, so let's go and fuck some stuff up in Ottawa and act like general degenerates and not tell anyone why we're here. The co-opting of the trucker movement, though, was just a fucking stroke of brilliance and genius because they have brought everybody into the center and they've been able to affect crazy change, negative change to a group of people. But I want to find out first from you, Paul. You've got 5 days of horns blaring in your ears, and what is that like? What is it like to try and sleep through it? Because this is the tangible stuff, right? This is what we're talking about, Paul.
It's psychological warfare, psyops, as they say.
They did it in Panama. This is what the Americans did in Panama to get rid of Noriega.
It's just it never
played
ends.
AC/DC at the place, the Vatican embassy where he was holed up. But it's the same thing. You blast with noise.
Well, a couple of friends I've discussed this with, they said because we're all hanging on by a thread right now. So a couple of us are like, you know what? We're all old school DJs. I have a lot of amplification. And I have a lot of loudspeakers. Why don't we just set up on the corner across from them and play something like, I don't know, Cotton Eye Joe on repeat for 24 hours or Achy Breaky Hard? Or screw it, we'll play
What about Ram Ranch? What about Ram Ranch?
Yeah.
That was a big one, yeah.
The only reason I wouldn't do that, though, is because there's a lot of children in the area. That's the only reason I wouldn't play that. But maybe we'll just play Norwegian black metal for 24 hours. That'll drive anybody up the wall. And I like Norwegian black metal, but for 24 hours, I'd lose my mind. I mean, my God,
Yeah, no one likes anything for 24 straight
Like,
hours.
Barney,
I mean,
the
anything.
Barney theme song.
Where's Donna Summers when we need her?
Yeah. Yeah. Or it's raining men. I mean, that for 24 hours downtown would sound great too. So we've got a couple developments, and I want to talk to both of you guys about it, and I'm glad everybody's here. Mark Bourrie, lawyer up in Ottawa. He joins us at Mark Bourrie on Twitter. Paul, the Blue Jacket guy. Paul Atkinson is his name. Wonderful man. He's the dude in the video, the viral video, the Blue Jacket guy that's giving Canada all kinds of reason to go, maybe no one's in it for us but us, and maybe we should grab arms and do something together. And I love the fact that you're that guy. But both of these guys have given us some texture and conversation. But let's move on to two things. I want to deal with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Mark, because I have been inundated with bots, Russian, American, all evangelical, alt-right weirdos telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. I want to know about Section 1 and Section 2, which I have read, and I wouldn't bring up with a lawyer who's trained in this and who's worked in this field his entire life, unless I did. But we talk about personal freedoms ending at the where your nose ends, right here in this country. Like your personal freedom, if you can do whatever you want as long as you are not impugning other people's freedoms, security, safety, and the right to liberty. Is that not how Canada was set up? And tell me where that argument that seems to kind of be floating around, can you nail that down for us in a way that we can understand?
Okay, a lot of people start reading the Charter at the second the second clause, right?
Just skim over it, right?
Skim over it. Speed read it. Selectively read it. You have a right to free speech, free expression, pardon me. You have a right to assembly, which are the two rights I think are in play here. You have a right to vote. That's Section 3. But if you read Section 1, these rights are subject to the limits that are acceptable in a free and democratic society. Right? Mm-hmm. So you don't yell fire in a crowded theater. Mm-hmm. You don't shit on your neighbor's yard as a method of free expression. You don't assemble gangs. If freedom of assembly was absolute, then the Hells Angels could not be prosecuted as a criminal gang. Right? So the government has the right to put limits on laws if the limits are proportionate and if they deal directly with the actual problem. So you can have a law that says you must have a permit to protest on Parliament Hill, right? You can pass a law saying that a bunch of trucks parked on a street overnight, blocking the street, can be towed. and people say, "Well, I have a right to, express myself by parking my truck there, or I'm assembling with other truckers." Well, too bad, because of this aspect. The first the section of the charter says that these rights have boundaries, and that these are the boundaries that that reasonable can be reasonably placed on them in a free and democratic society by governments. Another thing too is that your charter rights don't, like, I don't have the right to assemble in your house, right? I don't have the right to express myself in your bathroom while you're going to the can. These are reasonable, rational limits, but they're also the fact that the charter applies to dealings with the federal government. So they don't apply in a lot of cases where these guys think charter rights apply. You don't have the right to express yourself on, say, like if somebody starts to put comments up here that are just psycho, like threatens to kill somebody or something, Dean has every right to take them down, and it's not a violation of anybody's charter rights. Right? It's property. There are certain property rights that people have. We have the right, Section 3 rights, to have an election. If you don't like the government, you don't print a manifesto saying that you and the Queen and the fish bait dealer down the road should overthrow the government. That is used to take it seriously. That used to be something called seditious conspiracy, and people went to prison for that. And I'm not saying that everybody who mutters about overthrowing the government should, but when you take a look at this, I'd say this about whatever the political views are. When you have somebody raising $10 million, and all these truckers, by the way, expect to be paid for this work,
they're not going to see a penny of that.
They're not going to see a dime, but then a lot of them are sticking around waiting for it. When you see an organization set up, when you see them disregard the law from the very first minute, that they didn't even scope out the place to see if there were things like toilets, if they needed permits, all that kind of stuff. And they're all doing it with this hope, and they're conspiring together with this hope of actually having some kind of January 6th experience where the wimp Trudeau and his faggy buddies are all driven out of the House of Commons in terror from these neck-bearded truckers. They've never seen Trudeau fight anybody. He kicked the shit out of all of them, by the way. I wouldn't tangle with Justin Trudeau.
Well, you remember Patrick Brazeau said you underestimate him at your own peril.
Yeah, it's true. And somehow Justin Trudeau defeated a heavy-smoking, cocaine-addicted senator. I couldn't even believe it.
But
he's feeling sober these days, by the way.
It was a two-hit fight, but look, that guy is cut. And he's not going to run. He's partly his mother, with all the neuroses, but he's very much his father. And these bozos are not going to drive him out of the Langevin block or the Parliament building. Like, Mark, but this is the fantasy they live in, right?
Can I ask?
We've got your guest here, waiting in the waiting room. I want to bring him in. James, this is your guest. His name's Richard Allen. Is that correct? Richard, are you there? Richard,
feeling there, buddy.
He's supposed to be there. He's at the protest. I just saw some boxes in Tree Fort or something. So not sure if he's there. Just send him a quick text. Go ahead and talk. Send him a quick text and see if he's ready to go.
I just wanted to. Can I just quickly ask you, Mark, about the politicians that benefited from this? Because you mentioned that the Conservatives ran into a bug zapper. I actually think that they saw what was happening, and Paul Revere and a couple others were like, "Oh, now it's time. We can bury our leader, and we can take advantage of this movement." And the other thing is Maxime Bernier, and he seems to have a lot to gain. You represented him recently in that lawsuit, I think, versus Kinsella. So I was just wondering what your thoughts on what Bernier has to gain.
I think, taking in mind that I represented him in a libel action where someone was paid to defame him. This was stuff that happened ages ago. I don't think he would mind me saying. I think that he stands to gain at least a hardening of his support and probably some addition to his support. I think there's but the thing is that he's going to be fighting for that support with a big chunk of the Conservative Party directly now. with Scheer and who paid Warren Kinsella to attack Bernier, and and wanted to sort of distance himself from the what was it called, the hotline, the barbaric practices hotline, and a lot of the other sort of anti-immigrant stuff that the Tories were dog whistling with in 2015. They tried to sort of go towards the middle a little bit with Scheer, a lot more with O'Toole, at least as sort of a Wizard of Oz kind of thing. But Toto went and pulled the curtain open, right? And now we're seeing that this party is really still two parties, and one group of that. Now, whether or not they stay together as a party or not, I don't know. It's going to be really tricky for them, but I can't see how they come out of this ahead. I really can't. Trudeau comes out of this fine by saying nothing, and the NDP come out of it fine. They're saying less than nothing. And the Tories are just basically clawing at each other and just took down their leader. So that's I don't think that was the damage that they anticipated. I really think that they thought that they would get Trudeau to cave because they really underestimated his tenacity.
Mm-hmm.
And,
like too big to fail. They're too dumb to be charged. That's why they haven't been charged. They're just not
really,
that bright.
That's what I think happened. I think people underestimated, not underestimated, but I just thought people looked at it like, this is
whatever.
What is this?
Because that's how we looked at it last week.
Trucks honking for 5 minutes.
Well, we looked at it last week like that too. Like I know it's a comedy of errors. Like we were talking with Mark earlier in the podcast, and he was talking about how Jim Watson's failed at this. The chief of police has failed at this. I was inundated today, and I put up a post on Twitter with like Ottawa police men and women saying, hey, by the way, we've been told to stand down and we're not allowed to do our gig. We just want to do our jobs, right? So I'm sure you've heard the same thing, Mark. And there's that portion of it too. Like there's so many different parts of this that we can talk about. We can talk about the human cost with Paul. We can talk about the legal ramifications. We can talk about the Charter of Rights and Freedoms as it pertains to this protest, which we just have. And the Charter basically says these guys should have been out of there fucking 5 days ago when they started impugning on people's ability to fucking have a good night's sleep. So there's that. The other part of this that I find fascinating is Ottawa police today announced there's huge dark money coming in from the United States, and it's all from alt-right groups. Have you heard about this, Mark?
Yeah, I have. And that's one of the reasons why I think the cops are afraid is I think they think that that some of these guys have smuggled in guns from the States and stuff, which is terrifying. If they had believed this, they should have they should have been stopping these people before they even got close to Ottawa. Mm-hmm. If it turns out that some of these people who've come from the States, they should be vaccinated, by the way, if they're truckers who crossed from the States. But if they've brought guns into this country, they should be arrested. They should be charged. The people who work at the border crossings that let these guys in without finding these weapons should lose their jobs, or at least suffer some consequences. If the lesson that these clowns learn is that if you come here with guns, the city of Ottawa will basically let you do what you like, then we're fucked. That's really what it comes down to. And that seemed to be.
Are you saying that's already something there? That's an element of this?
Well,
they came out and said it today. Ottawa police came out and said it today. Locke. Yeah, they were like, not only is this American funded, this is being driven by American alt-right interests. Yep. I talked to a liberal insider today. I won't say who. And he told me that it is very much an ongoing thing, and it is a national security concern at this point. That there's a group of, and this is who it's coming from, and I'm happy to lay it out for you. There's a group, and this is the truth. And I penned an article about this, guessing at it like 2 days ago. Anyway, long story short, there's a group of alt-right dark money coming into Canada, into these special interest groups that are out west, the Mavericks, basically neo-Christian groups of people who truly believe Western civilization is coming to an end, and they have been blessed by Jesus Christ. And I'm not kidding you. I don't know if you heard the same thing, Mark. Blessed by Jesus Christ himself to come over here and take over the government so that they can have a return to Christian norms and they can make this country just as white as they want it to make it. Mark, have you heard kind of the same thing? I know Mike Flynn is one of the guys, and this might fucking shock you. The My Pillow dude is now involved somehow, and they're trying to figure out how.
Mike Sandell.
Perfect. That's actually perfect.
Yeah.
Let all the dummies join.
Yeah.
My biggest worry through the Trump years was that someone would get a map out and they notice that we exist. And I haven't thought that anybody in the Canadian, in any sort of mainstream, and I'm talking about like registered political party mainstream, was on the pad of American alt-right types, and I doubt that that's the case. But things like GoFundMe and sort of Bitcoin, all that kind of stuff, are just set up fairly perfectly for dirty money. And there was a lot of money raised really fast. And I think a lot of these truckers turned out to be bored people who've probably never even been outside their own province, who figured this was a paid trip to Ottawa. And I want to hit on that again, because I really do think this is one of the motivators of this. We have FinTrack, which is supposed to keep track of dirty money coming into Canada. We have CSIS, which is our secret spy guys. We have the Canadian Security Establishment, which intercepts terrorist communication and communication by people who want to harm the Canadian state. So if what you said is true, and it started to have the ring of truth to it, where the hell were these people, right? There was talk earlier that the Ottawa police had communicated with CSIS, but it's really hard to believe that this was ever taken seriously, and I think it would still be going on the way it was Saturday if it wasn't for the people of Ottawa, because the press loves this shit. This is a really boring time of the news year. We're all bored out of our frickin' minds.
Dude, U.S. media is turning this into a trucker convention that's not existing, that is all about Justin Trudeau hiding. Like, the Wall Street Journal picked it up today. Hannity went off on it. Tucker Carlson's doing actually some pretty funny Where's Waldo shit this week. It made me laugh. Yeah. But anyway, it's all wrong. Like, it's all wrong, and it feeds the same ideology in the same people, right? These white nationalist alt-right weirdos.
Yeah, which is exactly the narrative that they have adopted from Americans. That's the thing that's been bothering me. You hear the same rhetoric from the protesters that you've been hearing from the Trumpers, right? It's like, can't we're Canadian. Let's be pissed off in our own way. Hearing somebody yell, "You're fake news, you're fake." Oh, fuck off.
Yeah.
And what's Trudeau supposed to do? Let's run the scenario here, guys.
Yeah.
Quit.
Oh, by the way, one thing, and I want to get to that right next, but the one thing I've really appreciated about how dumb that group is like, anytime you point out their racism, the inaccuracies, or you tell the truth, you're automatically a Trudeau banging pedophile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have never banged Trudeau. Okay.
He's a good-looking man, though.
He is a good-looking dude. Yeah. Sorry, Mark. I didn't mean to interrupt. He is cut. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Let's run the scenario. Let's play PMO guys. What's Trudeau going to do? First of all, he's got COVID, but we'll put that aside because no one seems to give a shit about the fact his kid's got COVID, and he's COVID positive. Lots of people are COVID positive. So what's he gonna do? We're PMO guys. He could go meet the truckers. That'll go well. Yeah, that'll really work because they're ready to listen, right? Okay. He could go to Parliament while he has COVID, so that's an issue. And of course, he's a liar by these guys' standards. But say he could go to Parliament, stand far enough away from everybody. What's that do? Nothing, right?
Yeah.
So what's he supposed to do? Is he supposed to stand up on the hill so that the Fox News can get the money shot of people throwing eggs at him? Because that's really what we're talking about here, right?
Mark, did you hear my idea?
What?
And I would vote for the dick if he did this. He should get up on the steps of the ledge with a megaphone and go, "Get off my fucking lawn."
Yeah.
And then just turn around and walk in.
That I like. I like that a lot.
I would vote for him, and I can't stand the man. When I see his face on TV, I need to say this out loud.
That's because you live in Alberta, dude. You live in
I'm
this
sorry,
anti-Trudeau
it doesn't
echo
matter.
chamber.
It does
You
not
hate
matter.
him.
I have hated him for years, and I have been very vocal about it. I see that guy's face, I turn the TV off. I hear him speak, I turn it off. I cannot stand him, and it has nothing to do with me being Albertan.
Does it bug you then that every time you
leader.
and that every time you tell the truth about this whole movement, does it bug you that everybody calls you a Trudeau dick licker? Does that bug you?
Well, I mean, I get called a number of things just based on
Oh,
what
yeah,
people hear. They hear the soundbite, right? And
We'll see if hang on. Sorry, I just want to see if Richard's there. Richard, are you there? You got us?
I think he bugged out on us. I think he didn't want to.
Guys, it's really cracking up very bad. And
we can hear you fine.
We can hear you.
Yeah, you sound fine. Oh, losing
Okay.
him.
So Max,
whatever.
Here.
Yeah, tell him it whatever another time or whatever.
He's
Doesn't
got paper over his camera too.
By the way, we weren't allowed to call him by his real name. Just so you know how. No,
Well,
I'm telling you, I'm not going to tell everybody his name. But he was like, he was like, you can't use my real name, and I'm not going to use his real name because I promised that I wouldn't. But that just speaks to the quality of courage in this group.
Well, the repression. I got a lot of crap from these guys, and not ever use their real name.
Keyboard warriors. Not a single one of them has a backbone.
Lots of people in the country I agree with, and lots of people I disagree with, and I have conservative friends, and sometimes I feel quite conservative, and sometimes I vote conservative, and sometimes I vote for other things. And anybody who's got good faith and is willing to engage in a conversation using their name, I got lots of time for. And,
I agree, Mark.
I took on Bourrie's case because I thought this was an important issue of like how politics works in this country. And actually he's a great guy as a client. I've nothing bad to say about Max Bourrie as a client, but he knows probably that I don't agree with him on very much of anything, but I do believe he has the right to campaign and not have and have everybody know who's playing with whose cards.
You know what? That needs to be said out loud. I think whether or not people give you credit for that or not right now is not important. But I'll say it out loud. If you're willing to take on a client that has very opposing opinions from you, because you believe he has the right to actually share that says a lot about who you are, Mark. I think that's worth highlighting.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
I don't
and
think
also
I'd
that used to be the norm, though, guys.
Well,
actually, fairly
for
normal.
a lot of lawyers, it is the norm. But getting back to this whole trucker thing, like we're off the political stage here, right? I think that some politicians are going to make on it, but I don't think this is a political thing of Canadian politicians, of the Canadian sort of political class and movement. And a lot of the people, they move from party to party, and they, you have like campaign strategists who will work for the Greens and the Tories and the Liberals and all that kind of stuff, right? This is something different. This is a movement that has come up through things like Trumpian concepts, and there are legit concerns of lower middle class Canadians, which is what I think these folks really. I come from a small town where folks like this live. We lost our shipbuilding, we lost our auto plants, we lost all of our factories. We lost all of our factories when NAFTA came in, and or if anybody went on strike, they would threaten to move the plant to Mexico or whatever. Like and I saw people living in my town, whose kids moved away and never came back because there was like no opportunity, so they never saw their kids, or they had to drive to Toronto or whatever, and who never got ahead. Right, the only thing that's made them any money in their entire lives is the real estate boom right now. I mean, if that goes bust, then God help anybody in power, because they're fucked. It's fucking over for anybody who's an elected representative if the real estate bubble breaks. And, so I understand that anger. And I understand that people are bored. I understand that they feel put on by COVID. It's not their fault. It's not my fault. It's not Justin Trudeau's fault. It's, maybe the Chinese
the fates.
Yeah, it's something, right?
Careful. Yeah,
it's a victims parade. It's an anti-vax victims rally. Is what this thing is.
I never thought. I said to my wife, I saw a lot of sin for our life, but being cooped up together for 2 years in a fucking plague was not one of them. And nobody else, well, except Bill Gates says he saw this coming, but so we're all stuck in the same boat, and it sucks. It sucks so bad. And we have inflation. We have all kinds of problems with supply chains and all this stuff, right? And instead of pulling together, and that's always one of the great myths of wartime or bad times Canadians pull together, we don't. And we got to start looking at ourselves and saying, why don't we give a shit about our fellow man anymore, or our fellow woman, or our fellow child? What is it about us now that thinks you could come in to somebody else's town, shit on their front porch, blast through your horn all night, and just be a big pain in the ass? Like, when did we stop being a society that cares? And I think there's a real moral inventory, and I'm not preaching. I know it sounds funny, but there is a moral inventory that we should take of what we have become as people. We're richer than any other group of people in human history. We live longer. We still have all kinds of opportunity. We're just a bunch of fat fucking pigs sitting on top of the gold mine of Canada. And you can't, when it only gets tough, the tough seem to just fuck off.
Yeah.
And it's this pandemic has been a morals test, and we have failed it.
Values. I go back to values, and I love the fact that you're bringing up something that's not tangible here, right? Like having Paul, the Blue Jacket guy, on the show, Paul Atkinson at Paulie's World on Twitter, that's tangible. We saw him lose his shit last night, and he really represented 90% of us going, hey, fuck, we've had enough already. Like, we've all been through the same shit. And I think what you're seeing is, and we talk about this here a lot, Mark and Paul, and I know Paul's a regular listener to the podcast, so you probably know this. Where are the fucking values of the greater good? Like, Canada was legitimately, and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms were legitimately founded for you and me. The greater good is to take part in civilization as a group and move that civilization forward. So, like, when these guys come to town and destroy people's lives for a weekend in the name of the greater good, it's very simple for me to just assume that they don't have values that match with the Canadian fabric and Canadian citizens that go to war for each other every single fucking day. Like, I'm on the other side of this, and I'm in a different city, and Paul gave me goosebumps this morning, when I saw what he was capable of. And I thought to myself, is it possible? Like, are we seeing a lot of spray-painted dicks on the side of truckers' trucks?
It's starting to happen, yeah.
And the funny part is that I'm not a violent guy either. But at the same time, I'm like, hey, listen, this is a natural consequence of the fact that you guys don't give a fuck about anybody else. And so for you to talk about the paint on the side of your car and this egregiously huge hog with two beautiful nuts in yellow spray paint that will go nowhere, as if it's an affront to your freedom, it's bizarro world to me. Boys, Paul, it is bizarro world to me. And it's got to be to you, too. Like, sitting there talking to those guys last night, when they started telling you, join us then, brother. Like, what fucking world are they in?
I mean, I just told the guy to F off. He says, F you, join us. Yeah. What drugs are you taking, dude? Because in what world would I want to join an organization that has been literally driving me to drink? That has been, and now I need to add to this. Everybody's like, well, if you need to cut and get away. My parents live in Orleans. I can go there if I need to. This is my home. You're not going to drive me from it. You're not going to drive me from my home. It's not going to happen. You push me, I will push back. I am not violent. I don't believe in violence. It's not a thing. Sadly, it becomes sometimes necessary. That's why we, went to war a few times. But I don't want to see anybody get hurt. But if somebody gets spray painted on their car, I can't control that. It's out of my control.
It's just, guys,
You know,
it's just a
somebody
couple
throws
of bad
paint.
actors. Just a couple bad actors, Mark. It's no big deal,
When
right?
you
Just
have a
couple.
group of people, you're going to have, there's a chance that a couple of them might have spray cans.
A million people. A million people. I saw one guy boo-hooing that somebody had thrown eggs at his truck.
Yeah, he was crying about it.
Yeah, he really was. He was really crying about it. One young man I know wrote on the dirt on the guy's car, SUV with all the flags and shit, wrote the word cunt in the dirt. And the guy, and I looked at the guy in the truck with like, "You gonna do anything about it?" And the guy's like,
no,
it's these things are happening. I was thinking, I'd said to my son who's 22, we could go downtown and throw eggs at the trucks, and then if anybody like stops me, I'll just say, "Oh, I'm Max Bernie's lawyer." Are you kidding?
Mark,
it's the truth.
Please fucking do that.
Yeah,
Please
can I?
do that.
I want to ask
Strap
you
a GoPro to your head and head down there.
Yeah,
or go with Bernier.
If you're
go with Bernier and don't tell him you got eggs in your pocket and just start throwing shit right beside Bernier, so people are like, "What the fuck, Bernier? What are you doing?" You know.
Never actually met the man.
Really?
It's all been online. But Paul,
man.
you're on the street downtown. You could open the window and things could fall out. And
my friend, she's got several trucks parked right out in front of her building. And I need to preface this fact too.
Shit happens.
Shit happens. But the building she's in is only like 5 or 7 years old. So she's renting a condo there, a 2-bedroom condo. Her rent is more than double mine. Now, actually, it's almost triple mine. So I'm not going to say the numbers because it's not, I'm not going to divulge that, but it'll give you an idea of the people living in that area paid $500,000 to $2 million for some of their condos. And this is what they're putting up with. Yeah. And then you got the building across the street from them, which is people like me, just an average person trying to earn a living, get through their lives together. And you've got these yahoos who just have no regard for anybody but themselves. And no, I don't want to see violence happen. I really don't. But I'm afraid.
Sounds like you're trying to get someone on the panel to suggest it's a good idea.
No.
You know what? Me too. I'm in.
I would never say that. I'm
kidding. I'm glad no one's gotten hurt so far.
So can I just want to bring this up. Sorry, Mark, go ahead, and then I'll bring up a couple of pictures and video.
I think you got to keep in mind, and go back to this being a very mixed neighborhood, like Paul's saying, is you have people who literally live on the streets downtown.
Yes.
Right? They are basically told not to stay in the shelters for the homeless during the day, because of the whole COVID thing. They come in to eat. They're addicts. They're people who have mental health issues. They're people who are older and just basically damaged in some way, handicapped in some way, maybe psychologically damaged. Abused in the past.
So some vets.
And none of these guys give a shit about them, and they really, literally, twice in 2 very separate places ripped off their fucking food.
Yeah.
Like, what is it about this stuff that doesn't get through the skulls of people who think this is a good idea?
Well, weren't these guys? Doesn't this now, with that injection of dark dough out of the States and what we're learning about foreign interference, doesn't this now just seem like, and I hate to say it, but I kind of like it, is that American interests or smarter interests outside of Canada have come in and activated or mobilized some of the dumbest people in the country to do something pretty fucking stupid? Doesn't it kind of doesn't it feel that way?
Yeah. It does.
Yeah, and they're exporting the Trump movement. It's like the French Revolution was exported to the communists, and a lot of this stuff. I'm gonna sound totally off the fucking map right now, but I'm gonna say it anyway. A lot of the Trump stuff, I think, is Russian. I think if you're going to wage warfare in a nuclear world, I can't think of a better way than to undermine the very foundational morality and political system of a country by using its media, by using free expression, by basically doing like a judo move and using the strengths of democracy as a way to take democracy down. And I think that it is succeeding in the States. and I think it is spreading into Canada. Our security and intelligence system is not able to deal with this, obviously, and it's going to manifest itself physically with this kind of thing. Each time there's an opportunity for an undermining of our system. Each time there's something that they can hook something to, and in this case, it's this like bizarre idea that if we get rid of vaccine mandates for truckers coming into Canada, that it changes anything with trucking, which it doesn't.
Nothing. And these aren't truckers, right? Go ahead.
Most of the people I saw downtown weren't truckers when I was down there Friday. They were mostly guys blasting around at SU. You know what they reminded me of? They reminded me of the super assholes that show up to Canada Day, right? Like
the dude bros.
That make Canada Day suck. Every person who moves to Ottawa, I moved here 27 years ago. You go to one Canada Day, you never do it again.
Wow.
Because of those guys.
But I don't go to the Hill anymore. I don't go to the
Hill.
Hill
That's
anymore.
what I mean. You don't go to the Hill because it's just a bunch of someone's going to puke on your shoes, right?
Yeah.
And
James?
that seems to be the kind of guys we have here.
Sometimes I can't help escape the feeling that since we don't support the issue that they're protesting, that it tints the lens that we look through. Because I'm willing to wager that a few of us, at least on this panel, were pretty supportive of things like Occupy Wall Street in the past, which lasted 2 months, which completely infuriated the people, not just who own businesses on Wall Street, but the people who own $2 million New York apartments. And I'm wondering if we can maybe just take a step back and take a look at that petri dish that started when COVID started and talk about how polarization, how bad government messaging, how contradictory messaging and all that kind of stuff. I mean, all of this stuff plays a role. And I don't think that we've necessarily been you said something, Mark, earlier that I thought was important, which was why did we lose our humanity? And I actually think, and I don't think it was intentional, but I think that Trudeau and his government own about 25% of that, of what is happening right now. And I just feel and I just sort of feel like sometimes we don't really stop for a moment and really take a look. And just the last thing I want to say really quickly, the Russian thing, I don't think it really sounds crazy. What it sounds like to me though is that first of all, we would need evidence. A lot of the American media went way ahead of themselves before real hard evidence came in, and then it turned out it was a lot of what they were saying wasn't true. But not only that, maybe we need a summit with the United States and China and Russia and all these big countries and some sort of truce. Stop hacking each other because everyone's doing it now. And then we get really mad at the ones that do it better than others. Ones that start astroturfing, the ones that start spreading disinformation and propaganda. And I'm just wondering, I think big countries have to start getting their act together and stop being hypocrites.
Someone said I've been a lawyer all my life, and actually I haven't been a lawyer that long at all. I've only been a lawyer for 4 years. Before I did this, I was a journalist and I was an academic, and I studied propaganda. My PhD is on wartime censorship, and and I see the propaganda structures that are being used here. One of the as a lawyer that I'm really intrigued by is the idea that this kind of undermining of another state, whether and we'll just narrow it down, leave all the Russians and all that of it, but just say the Pillow Guy and the Americans doing this in Canada, but more by even especially if a government does it to another country, that this is actually a violation of international law. This is a violation of the international law crime of aggression against another country, right? Just as what Putin's doing with the deployment of troops on the Ukrainian border is of itself a violation of international law, whether or not he invades, because it's intimidation with force, right? And I believe that propaganda and cyber warfare are acts of war or acts of hostility. It should be outlawed. It should be something that you can do something about in an international criminal court. But I know we're getting way off topic now. But I think that James is right that the Trudeau government has a percentage of blame in all this, but we also have a federal system, right? And we have provinces trying to make off of this. Unfortunately, our provinces are so out of sync with the federal government that they're actually working as sort of an opposition to the federal government. So where do you get leadership on this? Like, this is a weak federation. This isn't like the United States where you have a president. You know, nobody's scared of Trudeau.
Weak federation with weak leaders. And
It's
I just want to step in. I just want to step in quickly because I think, Mark, I think you thought you said something that we would all be shocked by. None of us are shocked by what you said about making the connection between the movement in the States, the Trump, the MAGA movement, and it being, having some sort
rife
of
in this group
to Russia.
Well,
Here's the problem I have. I think you need to highlight the potential, like the starting point and where they came in. I don't think, Mark, and this is the problem I have with where we're at right now. I don't think Russia went, I got an idea. Let's create all this division by doing. No, they took advantage of something that was already there, and they're just fanning the flames. And that's the problem I have with where we're at right now, because we're not getting any better. We're not putting better leaders in. We're not getting better messaging. It continues to get worse.
And it's getting unsafe.
I think that the people who want to take down the West are fanning the nutters on the left as hard as they're fanning the nutters on the right.
Absolutely, they are. Yep. For sure, they are, Mark.
And causing this widening rift, because the left is just as fucking nuts as the right. They're just not here today, right? They don't have trucks, but they don't have the bodies to come to Ottawa and do the kind of
they're vegan. They don't have the energy.
but they have the cult. They have the cult that they're working with. Yeah, they're more like a cult. The other ones are more like a tailgate party, right? Like
they're all tenure track now anyway, right?
So what's more fun? A tailgate. I'm telling you right now. Come to Alberta, boys.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll come out there soon. Actually, I have some good friends in Calgary and family in Edmonton, so I haven't been outside of Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal in 2 years, and
it's a lot more peaceful in Edmonton right now. There, big fella. I just want to let you know that. And sorry if you decided to move from the country to the big city into Ottawa like a week and a half ago. What a shithole that is. Can you imagine if you moved downtown like 2 weeks ago?
Just unloaded the U-Haul on Friday.
Yeah. I do want to.
I think I'll start at the winter term of the University of Ottawa.
Let's go.
That'll be fun.
I want to ask you about a couple things. This is Randy Hillier. You guys know who Randy Hillier is. This crazy fuck that got kicked. Do you know him personally? Okay, good.
So do I.
Let's talk about this this tweet that he put out yesterday and deleted. I don't know if you've seen this, Mark. Randy Hillier is a deposed MP who went batshit crazy over all this stuff, and he's to say he's a libertarian is being nice. He's like actually so far libertarian he feels like a domestic extremist. Anyway, he put up this picture of some Israeli tank shells from a shock photo and some gas cans, and said, "Let freedom ring. Freedom Convoy 2022, no more lockdowns, no vaccine mandates." So looks like he wants to light the city of Ottawa on fire. At least that's the impression he wanted to give. He deleted the tweet, and he is under extreme duress from a whole bunch of people right now. You know him. What the fuck's wrong with him?
Well, this is a guy who came up through the farmers movement in Eastern Ontario. So the farmers got it in their heads that the government wanted their land. Most of it's going anyway, but there were signs all up the Ottawa Valley. Now you got to remember the Ottawa Valley. If Ottawa did not exist, this would be like West Virginia around here. Mm-hmm. Once you get about 30 miles away from downtown Ottawa, it is West Virginia with summer cottages.
That's no word of a lie. He's dead accurate on that. That's the absolute truth.
That's where I live.
Not belittling people, but it paints the picture.
Yeah, and Hillier is one of the guys, multiple generation back, family who glommed onto this thing or was part of this farmers movement and became the leader of it and got elected to the Ontario legislature. He's still a member of the Ontario legislature, and he's got a damn good chance of getting reelected, by the way. But he got thrown out of Doug Ford's party for being too extreme. So that, take that as you will. I saw that. I think Twitter made him take it down, and I wondered what it said on the gas cans because I've only got a laptop where I am.
I'll show you right here. It says
I can't really read it.
freedom. says Freedom Convoy 2022. The actual tags on it, I think the receipt you're looking for receipts is from a fertilizer or a plant store. So people, you know how the internet works, right? All the hard lefties, all the ultra vaxxers are like, "This is fertilizer he's planting Oklahoma," and then
those are regular gas cans.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter what they are. I mean, these are gas cans and these are tank missiles from a stock photo from an Israeli armamissions photo that you can get for $40 online.
He didn't pay for it.
Well, I know he didn't. I know someone else did this for him because, listen, is he really this good at Twitter? I doubt it. So, but bottom line is, dude, like, that's your buddy, and
illegal,
I would love to, he's threatening. I'll tell you the feel I get. Okay.
His son wrote a book about fighting ISIS, and I wrote a book about ISIS propaganda and recruitment. And I met his son, and I met his son at Randy Hillier's house. So I sat on the Randy Hillier's deck and had a beer, and this is like years ago, like 6 years ago or something. So this is my knowing Randy Hillier, right?
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. First of all, why he still has a Twitter account is on me. And cops, I noticed, among the arrests today were people carrying gas cans. Now, I don't think. Well, you can't do. Well, I don't know what you could do with a gas can in downtown Ottawa, but those shells are the whole thing is just crazy. Like, what I think it would be great to ask Randy Hillier, what the fuck do you want? And how are you prepared to get it? Because I think that answer would be very interesting to law enforcement at this point. I think we are putting up with a lot that we should not be putting up with. Threatening like that, like, he might lose his Twitter account.
I think it's pretty clear that Randy drunk tweets. I'm not being funny. I think it's pretty clear. And now I am about to be funny because I just thought of this. He's so libertarian. His name should be Man Rand. Randy.
There you are. Well, let me play this video. This is from this morning. Yeah. Well, I don't think. I mean, there's a petition going around to pull him out right now. Like,
members of the Ontario legislature. This is a kind of a key thing when you're dealing with nutters in Ontario. Members of the Ontario legislature do not get a pension.
That's right. They don't.
Once they're out, they're out.
Good.
So like Randy Hillier, who has there is no plan B in terms of a living. This is the best fucking job he'll ever have in his life, is being Randy Hillier, member of the legislature. So he has to get reelected in June, or he's gonna have, to find the private sector is a bit of a bitch, frankly.
For domestic extremists that threaten to blow up Ottawa, I got to say it is. Here's a video of him this morning. Actually,
explain in your job interview.
Let me after that tweet, let me show you this video. This is Randy Hillier with a bunch of other fucking rednecks today, trying to meet with people to get their city back. I just got this video, so I've only watched a little bit of it, but he's on the piss early. It looks like.
That's the way it works. It does not. Nobody leaves here until the country is opened up. The country needs to be opened up. I'm a Canadian citizen. Here is a patriot fighting for the truckers. My name is Jim.
Jim what? Jim what? What can you say to the workers that don't work because of you?
They don't work. We're not leaving. Till all mandates are open up the country so people can work.
We're not leaving.
Merchants are closed.
Okay?
They're blaming
I come from Bel-Air, Quebec. I'm not leaving.
They've been closed for
On part pas. T'as-tu compris? On part pas.
Therapy appointments. Ask the Prime Minister why he's locked down the children. Why are kids masked? They're creating psychological damage. The children are being damaged by the Prime Minister and his mandates, and the Premier. Doug Ford. Doug Ford is creating the mental health issues with children. That's the reality. Let's get a reality check here, guys. You don't mask children. This is a crime. You don't vaccinate children that don't need it. It's a crime. Tone down? I'm not going to tone down. You guys are criminals. You guys are, this government is a criminal. You guys are harming the children. This is decades of harm that is going to be happening to children.
Jim, what's
because
your
of
last
all
name?
of you.
What's your last
So Jim won't give his last name because he's so proud of that statement. And the other thing, Jim, I found very interesting is him talking about the state of mental health. I really appreciated that. The fucking irony, Paul.
It's look, I deal with anxiety and
gotta
depression. And that guy, as someone who takes medication so that I, A, remain on this earth, and B, occasionally get some sleep, I would say, in my non-medical opinion, he needs medication and maybe some therapy. I mean, good God, man. He's gone down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole. You don't mask kids and you don't vaccinate kids who don't need it. What?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
There's a level of sympathy that I have for that, though, because and I feel the same way sometimes about people who are pro-life, right? They truly believe that it is legal to kill babies, and they believe it. And if you close your eyes and thought to yourself, okay, out of the womb, do I think it should be good to kill babies? Your answer is obviously no. That's how profound and that's how direct they feel about it when it's still in the womb. So you take that principle of like, can I understand this person? He believes that children are being psychologically damaged. I think he's like 6% right, because I think there have been some increases in certain things. He believes that like kids don't need to be vaccinated and it's potentially harmful for them. Like, I have empathy for the viewpoint. And it's so hard sometimes because it's like I call them honkies just because they honk a lot, right? And and it's like that does not match the empathy that I feel for that particular statement from that guy. It's like I think as
citizens, you have to do a certain amount of basic reading to be a citizen. One is, and he's a citizen and a patriot, so he's going to find the people pissing on the War Museum or the War Memorial, right? Anyway, his patriotism aside is that kids get vaccinated all the time. That's why we don't have polio. That's why we don't have smallpox. It's why we don't have diphtheria, measles. This whole idea that kids don't get vaccinated and soldiers shouldn't get vaccinated. My oldest best friend is a soldier who was all over Africa and in Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff.
Oh, he's had 100 needles.
Yeah.
Oh, he's had 100 needles. Literally.
Yeah.
We've had this vaccine now for a year and a bit. Believe me, there are a lot of people looking to see if it causes any harm. If there was an iota of proof that it did, we'd hear a hell of a lot more about it, right?
Well, we also didn't have the internet.
Well, we'd hear a hell of a lot more about it from like doctors, not John 869 on Twitter. We'd hear way more about it from like researchers who would be like, guys, here's the thing. We got some studies, double-blind placebo studies, peer-reviewed studies. We put it into don't take this. They wouldn't be allowed to give it to us. This is an invention. This is theater.
Well,
of
doctors
fucking crazy.
are stopping people from taking the vaccine, right? They're stopping people that they're worried might have conflicting, because they're not sure about it. Our producer, Chris Rook, on the Dean Blundell show and the podcast network, he's got I don't want to say it because I screw the name up all the time.
Rheumatoid arthritis.
Yes, and he's been told, listen, don't take it. We're not sure yet, right? We had somebody call my show, the one I do in the mornings here in Edmonton, the locker room, and he brought up that there's been 30,000 reports of adverse impact from the vaccine, and I was like, 37,000, and only 33,000 people have died, and I went, what? Well, what are the and if you actually look, there is 37 reports, but a lot of it is. My
arm hurts.
Yeah, a lot of it is
adverse effects is really wide. It really is. The
exactly.
definition of it. Yeah.
So I told him, I said, I don't know if that number's right. I'd like to check that, and I'm highlighting the fact that you brought it up, and it, hopefully it's not misinformation. I said, but is it not worse to die from something, even if the chances are slim? Should we not be on the weight scale?
Yeah,
dying. My dick hurts.
If this was a thalidomide experience, we'd know. You know?
Yeah, well, yeah. By now, I saw somebody earlier talking in that. If you want to call that a press conference this morning, I tried to watch some of it. I had to tune it out. It was giving me anxiety. But they were talking about how this one doctor, and I say that in quotations because I don't know if he's a medical doctor. Because Mark, you're a doctor, right? You have your PhD. You're a doctor. So this doctor says, according to VAERS, which is done by the CDC, and there's some factual information there, but that's just anybody can report to VAERS. You can say whatever you want.
For doctor,
they don't investigate it, right?
It's not moderated. The reports are not moderated at all. Yeah.
And it. By the way, why are you reporting things that's in a different country? That's not here in Canada. Mm-hmm. We have a system for that in Canada, and guess what? It's called NACI. Yeah. And believe me, if that many people were dying as a direct result of this vaccine that they've been researching since 2003, remember SARS? That was a coronavirus. They've been working on this for almost 19 years. If quite literally that many people were dropping dead, I think we might hear from, somebody.
Well, and this is settled. Like, we're going backwards into the mung of the conversation that we've been trying not to have for the last 6-8 months, which is, do vaccines work? Fuck, we know they work.
Yeah.
Masks. Fuck, we know they. I mean, it's this continual rehashing to bring it into the center square to confuse everybody about what's really going on, and I think we've nailed what's really going on, and it's legitimately Canada's dumbest 0.2% being co-opted to bring American Judeo neo-Nazi Christian values and Western civilization back into a place where they think has lost it, right? Like, I mean, that's really kind of what we're talking about. Well, dude, I'm going to show you. Let me show you this video. Let me show you this video. Have you heard of this woman named Ramona Dedula? Have you guys heard of her?
Yeah. The Queen of Canada.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, Queen of Canada. She just finished giving a speech on Parliament Hill. Oh, yeah, dude. She's legitimately like a mentally insane former CAMH patient. Police have had to do wellness checks on her because she's that crazy. She was the nut fuck that called for the murder of anybody that got their kids vaccinated. Do you remember that a little while ago?
Okay. Yeah.
She legitimately, and here's the video, just burned a Canadian flag on Parliament Hill with all of her supporters around her. Watch this. This is
Just relax. You guys don't understand.
Even guys in the crowd are going, this is wrong. What the fuck are you guys doing? We're here for Canada. What do we make of that, Mark?
I think we may have lost Mark.
Mark, you there? Mark?
Yeah. I'm
Hello. What do you make of that video?
I've 27 years in Ottawa. I've seen everything on the Hill at some point, right? Yeah. Except good entertainment.
Great big.
Was that a senator's joke? That was a senator's joke, wasn't it?
No, that too. And that's what the original truckers' protest on Friday reminded me of, is when. Now, they got to really reach back in time here, but when the Senators would win a playoff series, there'd be guys driving around town and honking their horns and waving flags. It seems to be a pretty go-to thing for this crowd, but we don't have to worry about that too. Thank God. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we won't have
thank God we were not in the playoffs and the Senators are good. I mean,
your Sens are decent this year, boys. They're scary, kind of quiet, good.
Yeah,
well, I think
they'll fuck it up.
Should go talk to Melnick.
Truckers should talk to Melnick.
Yeah. He's got lots of parking out there. And I'm sure he's all ears.
Go take a shit Everything,
Listen, I want to thank Mark Bourrie for joining us, and my new friends, Mark Bourrie and my new friend Paul Atkinson, Blue Jacket guy. Listen, you
DJ
guys,
Blue Jacks. DJ Blue Jacks. Try it.
Yeah.
It's going to work. The anvil's hot.
We're gonna chat again about some stuff, Paul. I appreciate you. We're gonna have you back, and hopefully, Mark, you'll come back again too, because I really enjoyed having this conversation.
I have no life, so anything else to do.
Well, then in that case, we'll see you tomorrow. All right, man. We'll talk to you soon. That's Mark Bourrie. Paul, appreciate you, brother. I really do. I hope that you.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
I hope that you have I hope that this helped a bit. Like, I hope that you understand that there are people out there that aren't trying to turn this into a fake trucker rally, that there are people like us that are just like you. You know, I feel like we're the media equivalent of you, to be honest with you. So
we all just want to live our lives in peace. I mean, really. I'm an average, mediocre white male, which is, there's lots of us. And
stop it.
Oh, I mean, I'm just trying to get by, and like to see this continued occupation go on, it's worn my patience down to the nub, and I can't sit idly by, because if I do, then I'm complicit in saying that it's okay to do this, and it's not okay to do this. It's not. You do not occupy Canada's capital. And oh, by the way, somebody I was responding to on Twitter, I had to lock my Twitter account, but somebody I was responding to, and they're like, in the video, you said my city. It's our city, Canada's city. I'm like thinking, no, lady, it's not. The Parliament Hill is Canada's. Where I live, this is where I live. This is my home. You don't live here. You don't pay taxes here. You don't work here. You don't have blood, sweat, and tears in the streets of this city. I do. So when I say my city, I mean it. It's my city.
You're loud, Paul.
Right?
Well said. Yeah. Well said. And you know what? It's our city too. It's not my city and my blood, sweat, and tears, but just, through that simpatico understanding of what the greater good means, we're with you, man. I mean,
Thanks.
one of the coolest hashtags I've seen in a long time is I am Blue Jacket Guy. And there are thousands, literally tens of thousands of those hashtags. So on behalf of, 90% of us that have kind of remained quiet, that are now waking up, I want to thank you for motivating all of us and into taking action. And you got friends now, dude. Like, look at all that stress, all that awfulness. You haven't slept for a few days, but we're friends now. You made new friends. Look at us, right?
That's
look
awesome,
at us. You
right?
got three new pals. Yeah, that's nice. I like the way it works. Talk to you soon, Paul.
Okay,
thanks so much for doing this. That is Paul Atkinson. Paul is Blue Jacket Guy. Yeah. Who was fucking awesome on Tuesday, and we saw his viral brilliance today.
Yeah, very good. I hope he's okay. Like,
Oh, he'll be fine. Yes. Yeah, he'll be fine. I mean, he
looks
in his
like
50s.
me in most staff meetings.
He looks like me with glasses.
Yeah, he does have a bit of.
I thought he looked like Moby.
Schaefer look.
He looked a lot like Moby. Yeah.
Did you know that I impersonated Moby once? I swear to God.
Yeah.
In 2001. Did I tell you that already?
That might not be the most surprising thing I've heard about you, James.
Yeah.
We went with a photographer. We went to the Royal York, and we went to the restaurant, whatever the restaurant was there. And we had my friend taking pictures, and I was wearing like a boa and shades and shit, and I looked just like him. And we ended up they asked for a table, and we sat down. And for some reason, we wanted to ruin Moby's reputation, who's a vegan. So we just ordered a whole bunch of meat and took a lot of pictures of me eating meat as Moby to see if we could fuck over Moby. Didn't work, but we tried. That's what you got to do, guys. You got to try.
As long as you try.
I mean, that's what I say about you. He does the important work.
Yeah, right. It's true. You're right about that. I'm about to interview Sean Avery. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to that interview.
Yeah, coming up in like a half hour. You got Sean Avery in a half hour in Blackhawks.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and there's a possibility, and I'm not just floating this to be one of those dicks that's trying to drive traffic, but I have been in touch with Bill Bourrie, who really likes Sean Avery because he likes any. His reason is funny. I like any athlete that has a rule named after him. And I'm just like, okay. And he used the Sean Avery example.
I've heard Bill Burr say that on his podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
that's what. So hopefully Bill Burr will stop by. I've reached out to him. He came back. I got permission from him to use the clip, and then I was like, "You want to go on the podcast? Not as funny as yours, but still a pretty good fucking podcast." And so hopefully he'll come on. We'll see what happens. But at least Sean Avery will be there, and that'll be fun.
Awesome.
But
all right,
sorry, I didn't mean to
Blackball
hijack
the
that.
podcast. No worries. Doesn't matter. Blackball the podcast is where you can find James, and that'll be live right here on our website, and of course, Blackball the podcast wherever you get your podcast, Google, Spotify, Apple, etc. Locke, I got a present for you.
Oh, what do you got? I'm looking forward to this.
I got a gift for you.
Presents.
This is something we talked about yesterday. We didn't get a chance to see it together. But do you remember the little old ladies who blocked in a trucker?
Yeah,
they were interviewed on CBC.
The 50-year-olds.
Courtesy. Well, they're much older than 50.
I think I know what this is going to be. I'm not going to say anything, but
this is these are the three ladies, and I want you to watch how cute they are when they talked about how they boxed in a couple of semis the other day just because why not, right? This is awesome.
We're coming from different places, and we met in front of our building, and then this guy with this huge truck came and tooting, and I said, "This is awful. Let's go and stop him."
This huge truck and a bunch of littler trucks came up our little street here, honking away, and we just decided we'd had enough, and we thought we'd make a statement.
And we were up high in their cab of the truck, right, looking down on us. We couldn't hear anything they had to say, and they didn't want to hear us. So I wanted to communicate to them that we just did not support what they're doing. So I just did a thumbs down. Every time he honked his horn, I did a thumbs down, and so there were a lot of thumbs down.
It wasn't an easy thing to do, but it was an impromptu thing, and we've had enough. We've had enough. This is an occupation. This isn't a protest. All of us are a certain age. We've been fighting a long time for women's rights. We're kind of used to it, but that was scary. I mean, that's a huge truck. They're bullies. It's not easy to stand up to a bully, and you very rarely win anything.
That they wouldn't come out and assault three women of our age, because that wouldn't look good on camera, that's for sure. I am really disappointed in the Ottawa police. There is nobody enforcing the law downtown. There is nobody. They don't have a permit to protest. Nobody knows when they're going. They're vandalizing stuff. They're intimidating people in local businesses. We've had enough.
They're awesome. There was a lot of thumbs down.
I thought they were going to say, "Get off my lawn." I thought that's why. I thought that's what the
I
president
stand by that. That's his only move here, Justin. That's the only way he wins. Get off my lawn, and then say it in French.
Yeah.
Can we just give a big shout out to the completely brain dead idiots that populated our chat today?
Sure,
that
go
was
ahead.
interesting. No, I'm just saying, it's like
let him go. Let him go.
Yeah,
you know what I find?
The honkies are out. That's all.
You know what I find? I find that the
funny.
chat. I like the fact that they can interact on the chat as well, right? So they're watching and then they're also talking back and forth. So a lot of that's taken care of on its own, right? Yeah. I've stopped watching it because I found it so distracting. So now I take a view, James, and this might help you because you're like me. You get like squirrel, right? So I put the screen up now so that I'm not focusing on what's going on the chat.
I did that for the last 10 minutes or so, and then when I went back, all I saw is James is a dick or some shit. I was just like, oh, fuck, I'm going back to full screen. I might as well just keep it in full screen if the parameters are James is a dick, because I'm just going to see that all day anyways, right? So I got hate mail for having Sean Avery on. I got hate mail.
He's a very controversial figure, but that's what Blackball is about. Tell him to fuck off.
Right. I did.
You interview who you want to interview, James.
I promised Dean I would never say the word on air again, but I did tell him that I would see him next Tuesday. That particular person.
Yeah.
But I won't say that word. I couldn't believe Mark. Could you believe that, Dean?
You know what I got?
He dropped. Sorry, go ahead.
The hard C-bomb? Yeah. You know what I got about Mark, Dean? Is Mark has spent a good portion of the day today alone.
Well, dude, in the interview, he was like, I don't go anywhere. I don't do anything.
I live in a
my house.
shack on the edge of town.
Yeah.
He was dumping. He was dumping. These are the first people I've talked to today.
I loved him though.
I
Yeah,
love
but
him.
anytime you can get a dude that's that smart, that's that connected, like I talked to him briefly prior to getting on the show, and I'm like, hey, what about this? And he's like, yeah, this is this, and I'm like, ooh, like that's the goal for me, right? It's bringing people on to talk to us about, what they know instead of us telling them what we know. That's generally like just makes us look like fucking idiots. So I try to just like sit back and listen. And a guy like that's been cooped up all the time, that wants to go on a big role like that, that's awesome because it's less stuff for me to do.
Yeah, I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
I liked it a lot too.
The one thing that I will say that is a little frustrating for me, and I want to make sure that I say this out loud for those maybe in the chat that are watching that feel like that there's an imbalance approach on the pod. We have attempted to bring people on that might represent views of the other side, and it's not easy. It's difficult, and I understand that maybe right now there might be a viewpoint that there would be some pushback, some controversy or whatever. And I think part of the reason why you have people protesting in Ottawa is because they feel marginalized. And so there's a mistrust.
I don't care.
I know you don't,
but I'm with you, Lachlan. I think you're right. Dude, is there any other outlet that's had Randy Hillier on, Max Bernier on, Chris Sky on? We attempted to have Richard Allen on today, who actually is a really good speaker, but he is completely pro-convoy. It just didn't work out technologically. So, I hear what you're saying. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to paint them with a big wide brush either. I think that there's people that take shits and throw them on people's lawns. There's people that honk horns. And there's a whole swath of people in there that probably don't do either of those things, that are probably pretty nice and that are just probably trying to figure life out. And I'm not mad at them.
We're all fed up, and some of us are fed up to the point where they're in Ottawa protesting, right? Mm-hmm. And they're and I don't think they should be disregarded. I don't think their opinion should be disregarded.
Yeah, they should.
I disagree with Dean on that. I
think of course you do.
Maybe...
Of course, anybody disagrees with that because it goes against the olive branch theory that we're trying to fucking settle this with. Fuck that.
I don't.
This
think
is the 90%. No, man. This is the 90% saying to the 10%, "Go fuck your hat. You made yourself the victim class. Now fucking eat it." That's what this is.
On. And you're not wrong, but I'm taking.
If I get another tweet from someone today that goes, "What about our freedoms? I can't go to the movies." Go fuck yourself. You opted into the victim class, you dumb fuck. That's what you are. You are nothing.
You're not wrong. But I said it today on the show. We had a conversation about a poll in the States, and there's similar ones happening in Canada right now. And it was like 70% of the U.S. population believes that we should abolish all the regulations revolving around COVID, and we should just go back to normal life. And I believe that if you ran a similar poll in Canada, you would probably get that same result. Now, having said that, we have 90% vaccination. We have 90. You keep talking about the 10% that might be represented in Ottawa, and then the rest of us, the 90%, right?
Sorry, I'm laughing at the Dean Blundell show's comment there.
It's all good. Anyway, I think it's not about an olive branch. I said today, at some point, we need to start having conversations about the fact.
You're not, but fuck, we dealt with this yesterday. You can't have a conversation with these people.
The last half of his sentence was coming, and I know it's important.
It is. We need to start having conversations about how we're going to get back to a life where there are no restrictions. Are we going to still be because I think we have to be okay, Dean, we have to be okay with the person that comes to work with the mask still.
Yeah, I said that all week this week.
Right.
We also have to make sure that we don't have blood in the streets in a year. And I know, and I'm not saying that lightly,
No, I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong, James. And that's not an olive branch. That's okay, we're going to go back to a place where, hey, there's no more rules. I'll be able to go to the liquor store without a mask on. But am I going to yell at the person that has a mask on? No, I think everyone needs to just bring the temperature
Stop yelling at each
down.
other. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? To that point, and for consistency's sake, when the more militant side, and it's a fringe side of like the Black Lives Matter movement, for example, there is a fringe violent side to that movement, and most of it is peaceful. So just to get that out of the way. When groups like that have that militant fringe that talk about revolution, I am the first one to try to engage with them and be like, what the fuck do you think that looks like?
Yeah.
What is revolution? When you start unpacking that, what are you going to do? And what these guys did in Ottawa is like, if there were 10 steps to a revolution, this was like step 0.3. They're not even at the first step because it was so ridiculous and disjointed. But it's a good question to ask these people, because make them unpack their thoughts and their dreams and their desires for revolution. And they'll realize that once they get to steps 6, 7, and 8, they're going to look back and see the dead bodies of their friends and family. So ask them if it's worth it. You can't defeat a state anymore with violence. It's never going to work. We are too sophisticated and modern to go up to the Parliament Hill with our long guns and expect to take over a government. It's ridiculous.
Plus,
and I think people need to simmer the fuck down. You know, like, we're not revolutionized.
Yeah.
Like, we're not revolutionaries, you know?
There's too many people that do, especially in this day and age, regardless of your political leanings or who you voted for or where you go to church, there's too many people that believe in common sense and at least have a foot rooted in common sense, right? And you know what, Dean? Here's what I'll tell you. We're here for you, okay?
Yeah,
I'm good.
He's just he has to go pee, clearly.
No, I'm set. Like, I'm letting you guys talk. I'm letting you guys be nice to the 10% here. I'm good.
not being nice.
I'm settled. Yeah, you are. You both are. You're both like, when are we going to get back to talking? There's no talking with these guys. Like,
no.
Our comment section is full of people like just going honk honk, try and block me, and I'm like, whatever. I don't. I
you know what you have, but you have that in common with them, because they're like, there's no talking to these fucking commies, and you're like, there's no talking to these truckers.
I was going to call Mark a communist at one point. Hey, clearly you're a
But
communist.
then he found out he represented Bernier. Yeah.
But then I wasn't sure if he'd get the humor of it. But he's a funny fucking guy, too.
He's awesome.
He is.
Loved having
Very
him.
funny.
Yeah, he was great. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. This has been fun. It's been interesting. I love having these conversations and getting into the who, the what, the where, and the why people. And it's another day to do that. Appreciate it. That is James D. Fiore, Blackball the podcast, coming up in 16 minutes right here. You can watch it, him and Sean Avery. Also, Lachlan Cross will be here. Oh, no, you're not going to be in that podcast, but you can see him at 95.7 Cruise FM every single morning, and you can listen to him online. At Lachlan Cross on Twitter is where you can follow him. His Twitter hasn't been busy lately, so he's asking for people to follow him and tweet him.
I can't even fucking keep up. Fuck you, Blundell.
Sorry. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks, Jamesy. We'll talk to you guys soon. Really appreciate it. Great to see you, brother. All right, you too. Good to see you. Anyway, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for being here, including the mouth breathers in the comment section. I love you too. I mean, I'm excited to watch you stand outside movie theaters for the next year or so. Try to get into Montana's for the ribs. Why can't I get the ribs? And I don't even give a fuck about mandates anymore. I certainly don't care about restrictions. But you guys just act like tits, so I'm for whatever you hate. That's legitimately it. I am for anything these people hate. I mean, why not? Right? I mean, they don't make any sense. I don't see why we don't do the same thing. What do you like? Freedom. I hate it. Hey, what do you like? Apple pie. Fucking can't stand it. Hate apple pie. Your apple pie especially. What else do you like? My dad. Fuck your dad. Also hate your dad. I just think it's one of those things that would be fun to do, right? Just to, because it's what they do. It's like this little, and it's like, I get a kick out of it because it's like they come in the comment section or they tweet and stuff, and I don't care because not only do I not look or manage the comment section, Ryan does. He's right here. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I'm okay. Fucking dying.
But
so funny.
I don't look in the comment section, and I don't do a whole lot of my own tweeting other than to put stuff out, like push out content.
Yeah.
and I might interact with the odd person, but these these guys think they're talking to me.
No, friends, you're not. You're talking to a team of people that manage this. And some of the shit you say is very, very funny.
What are you noticing in the comments and the Twitters and the things? What do you notice? I notice a very serious. Amber and Mac and I were talking about this yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm noticing one thing: a very serious, concerted effort by people with 6 followers that have MAGA in their profile that just joined yesterday. Yeah, a lot of Bitcoin and MAGA. Are you noticing that too?
I was going to say the same thing you said. The under 100 followers and lots of numbers at the end of their name, and they just joined Twitter like this month because their last profile they got kicked off Twitter with, that's gone.
Yeah,
and that's
they
just
keep rehashing accounts, trying to fucking game the system. Yeah. But they out themselves when they come and go, yeah, I don't even know how this works, but fuck you.
Yeah, I've got a really funny bit I want to talk to you about for tomorrow. I've found something that rates people on Twitter, and it rates their where they are on the scale of credibility, where it rates their scale of if they're a troll or a bot or whatever the hell, right? Like they're by engagement, and there's an actual algorithm that tracks that. So I went through and I did all of ours from the show, and I did some of the more well-known trolly, shitty accounts that we know of, and we'll bring them out, I think, tomorrow if you want.
Yes.
And we can guess to see who's got the shittiest account on the show and who's got the best account on the show, and I promise you it will shock you.
This is me.
I'm not saying. You got to watch tomorrow. It's going to be good.
I got the shittiest account for bot.
I didn't say that. I said it's going to shock you who does have the shitty trolliest account.
Okay.
And
I'm excited.
And who has like the Angel fucking Halo account is going to fucking blow your mind. It's great.
It's probably me.
We'll see. I don't know. You got to tune in tomorrow. I haven't even cleared this with you. Did you want to do this tomorrow?
Yeah,
I have it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
all right. I've got all this stuff. But yeah. So when you're yelling at Dean, you're not yelling at Dean. Just so you know, we might show Dean a couple of things here and there, like be like, "Hey, this is a really funny one," and he'll giggle, and we'll all giggle, and we'll laugh at you. We'll make assumptions about your life.
Yeah.
And what you do. And then we move on. So yeah.
And the amount of screen doors in the trailer that you live in, and whether or not you call hot dogs trailer park tacos. Those are the things we talk about when you send us tweets or direct messages. And it's funny because, like, not only am I seeing like a massive uptick in those less than 100 followers just joined yesterday that are all involved in this, and they're all the alt-right ones. Like, you don't see any alt-left ones. It's all the alt-right ones. But fuck, is it awesome to watch.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oh, wow. We're being kicked out.
Still going.
Sorry, Jamesy.
Yeah. Anyway, dude,
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much, and we'll see you tomorrow on the show.
See you tomorrow.
We'll go through our Twitter feeds and get all the bots. That's Ryan Lindley, Sheeple Shepherd Podcast, at Ryan Lindley on Twitter. I got to get out of here. Jamesy needs the gear. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Really appreciate you being here. Don't forget Easy Auto Financial, your people that get you financing for great vehicles. Go to easyautofinancial.ca for more details today. Don't forget, you can go to domination.com as well. Domination.com, people that dominate content and do it super easy with a little AI. You'll love it. It's artificial intelligence for people that do podcasting, gaming, streaming, etc. Dominate with your content, dominate.com, dmntn.com. Check them out today. And, of course, our friends at Ed's Fine Imports and his Gitch. Get Gitch from Ed. EdsFineImports.com. Luxury boxer briefs. But Gitch3, that's your promo code. Order a pair today. Put in your promo code. You get a free pair. It's the way he does business. He gives people things. Have a great day, everybody. See you tomorrow. Thanks to all of our guests for joining us. Thanks to Blue Jacket guy, Paul Atkinson, lawyer Mark Bourrie, and for you, all of you that are still fucking hanging around, which is pretty cool. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you in the next couple of days. Don't forget, Jamesy is up next.